Angoshi, mji wa kale wa Waislamu wa Msumbiji. Kwenye fukwe hizi za Msumbiji ya sasa kuna alama ya ukale wa jamii za Waislamu, hadithi ya ustaarabu mkongwe kabisa kwenye eneo hili la dunia uliokuwa umetapakaa kutoka Kilwa hadi pwani nzima mashariki mwa Afrika karne kadhaa, hata kabla ya utawala wa Wareno na baadaye wa Oman. Hii ndiyo hadithi ya Angoshi.
My name is Shaabani Motiwa. I am from Angoshi. Angoshi is an ancient sultanate in the coastal area of nowadays Nampula province in the north of Mozambique. And I'll share with you the history of these sheikdoms and sultanates in Mozambique, which were ruled by the so-called Shirazi dynasties in this area. Well, I will start with the overall influence of Islam in the area of what is currently Mozambique, and that the evidences we have going back to the 8th century and further south to what is now in Nyambani, in Shibweni, where is an archaeological site dated back to the 8th century. But the connection of this area of Mozambique to the wider Western Indian Ocean is even earlier than the eve of Islam, as we know by the history and by the scholars who study this area. So it means that before Islam, Persian and Arab traders came to the region and traded in gold, in amber, and so many other products. But the influence of Islam is very important in all this history of the region, and here is where I will concentrate my argument. And about that, let me tell you about what I introduced you as the sheikdoms and sultanates of the region. When the Portuguese arrived in the eastern coast of Africa, when they reached the Zambezi River, they called this area this river as the river of good signals. And what were the signals? The signals were because they saw people dressing like Muslims who were trading and who were living in this area. This was their good signal because their aim was to reach India and Persia and Saudi Arabia, where the spices, carpets came from, and they wanted to control this business. And that's why during all their travel, when they found these people in the coast of Mozambique, they were happy because this was the signal that they were closer to their objective, to their aim. And these people, these Muslim traders in this area, they were actually part of a huge network, a huge political, economic, and cultural network that was built in this period with its center in Kilwa. Why? Because these sheikdoms like the sheikhs of Sofala, the sheikh of Kilimani, in the mouth of Zambezi River, north, a bit north to the mouth of Zambezi River, the Sultan of Angoshi, the Sheikh of Mozambique, the Sheikh of Kisanga, and the Sultan of Tungi. They were all immigrants from Kilwa. They had immigrated from Kilwa earlier before the arrival of the Portuguese. And there are so many reasons for this wave of immigration. And this was not one single wave. There were so many waves of immigrations. What is difficult now is to find out how many waves of immigrations, because the evidences we have, they are all in oral format, and as we know, oral traditions have this problematic in dating and in giving accurate chronology. But what we must be sure is that Kilwa has the center of the trade and the political center of this area. There was a kind of upheaval, political upheaval, but there are those who also associate with a kind of economical crisis in Kilwa. And some of the princes of Kilwa, they decided to migrate further south, and their aim was firstly economic. They wanted to come closer to the source of the gold, because the main trade, the main source for the international trade at this period was the gold. And most of this gold came from the Zambezi or the Zimbabwe plateau. We have heard about Great Zimbabwe. So coming to the south, to Sofala, what in Arabic source may appear as Bait as-Sufala, was like coming to the source of gold. And from Sofala, they had this entrepôt in Shibwene, which was linked to another entrepôt in Manyikeni, in what is now Inyambani, but basically in Vilankulu area, where is the fortress of Manyikeni. This fortress was linked directly to the Great Zimbabwe, and from Great Zimbabwe, or even Great Zimbabwe was also linked to another site in the northern side of South Africa, which is called Mapungubwe, where archaeologists found a huge amount of gold in the burials of the ancient kings of this area, such as in the Great Zimbabwe also. Well, and according to the earlier source, even to the Portuguese witness, who were the first Europeans to come to the area of East Africa, this Sheikh of Sofala and the Sheikh of Mozambique and the Sultan of Angoshi and the Sheikh of Kisanga, they were all, or they had all a kind of kinship link. And this kinship link also came through all the sheikdoms in the what we may call the northern coast of northern Swahili coast, like Malindi, like Mombasa, like Pate. All of these sheikhs were connected to the sheikhs to the Sultan of Kilwa. So Kilwa was a kind of suzerain kingdom or suzerain sultanate in the area, and its influence is also said to reach even other islands like Comoro, and probably some areas of western Madagascar, Mbukini, as it comes in the Swahili source. So, coming again to my homeland, to Angoshi, which is called Angoshi in the ancient sources, in Ajami sources, in Swahili, written in Arabic with Arabic script sources. It was founded by Hassan, and this Hassan had migrated from Kilwa with a friend or cousin or brother. This is at least difficult to establish, but they were the leaders of one of these waves of migration from Kilwa, and they were coming to the south, as I said previously, looking for the source of gold, but also for the new areas, new lands to live. Musa founded Mozambique, the Sheikhdom of Mozambique, and apparently the name of Mozambique, which in Swahili source in our local language is Msumbiji, according to oral traditions, or some oral tradition, because there are several oral traditions, this name comes from Musa, Musa ibn Mbik. Apparently, this was the Musa that the Portuguese found in Mozambique Island. But there are other sources which suggest that the second or travel of Vasco da Gama, he found another ruler who was Sharif Muhammad ibn al-Alawi in Mozambique. And still, it's the same Shirazi dynasty. But what I would like to tell you and to highlight is that his friend, brother, or cousin, Hassan, when he was returning from his travel to Sofala and probably returning to Kilwa, or maybe traveling from Kilwa back to Mozambique or to Sofala, he had a misfortune and died in the area of Mozambique, and he was buried in a small island in the group of so-called Angoshi Islands, in what is today known locally as Kisiwan Sultan Hassan. Kisiwan Sultan Hassan. And Musa, when he heard about this, he visited this area, and he found the tomb of his friend or brother or cousin, and he liked the area, and he decided to settle in this area. The son of Musa, Choza, son of Hassan, founded the dynasty of Angoshi, the Shirazi dynasty of Angoshi that descends from Hassan. And from then onward, these people who came from the sea, this Swahili community, they married and they intermarried with Makua communities who came from the hinterland, and they established the Sultanate of Angoshi. The intermarriage process is a very long process, and it also helped to establish and to extend the Sultanate of Angoshi further to the hinterland, and even further to the north and to the south. In its golden period, Angoshi was compared by some Portuguese chronicles as a kind of Napoleonic France, as they called one of the most most famous Sultan of Angoshi, Sultan Musa Muhammad Sahib Kwantu, has the Napoleon of Angoshi, because Angoshi was very big sultanate. For those who know this area, it extended from, let's say, Sankul, or in the margins of Infusi River in the north, but also with influence even to Sankul, and went further to Ligonia River, and even after Ligonia to Kizungu River. It was a very huge area, but with the nucleus in Angoshi.